Hare Krishna. So in the earlier narration I said how Vrishketu and Meghavad volunteered to accompany Bhimsen, and Bhimsen accepted the proposal. And Yudhishthir was meditating on Krishna's pastimes, and he wanted to see Krishna, he wanted to meet Krishna. So Krishna appeared at the doorstep, at the door of Yudhishthir's palace, and then Yudhishthir said to Bhima, let's go and receive him. So Dharmaraj along with his brothers went to receive the Lord. Krishna came inside and he offered his respect, his obeisance to Yudhishthir, because Yudhishthir was older in age to Krishna than Krishna. So Krishna saluted the king and he bowed his head in front of Yudhishthir. Yudhishthir lifted him by both his hands and smelled his forehead. This is an expression of, this is a gesture of love and affection when you express it to your younger, one who is younger to you. So the modern tradition is to the younger one kiss on the forehead, the Western tradition. But our Vedic tradition is to smell the forehead of the younger one. Similar, but there is some difference. So Yudhishthir, he held Krishna on by both of his arms, and then he smelled on his forehead, and he drenched Krishna with his tears. Because he started crying. Yudhishthir was so much in love with Krishna. He always remembered Krishna's pastimes. He always remembered Krishna's names. He always remembered how Krishna always protected them, and how Krishna always accepted the service in different services, and how Krishna always helped him in different ways, even acting as a servant and messenger. So Yudhishthir always constantly meditated on Krishna's favor upon them like that. So he was in deep love with Krishna. So when Krishna paid him obeisances, he bathed him with his tears of love and affection, and he embraced him. Yudhishthir and Krishna tightly embraced each other. And then Bhima and Arjuna also met him. And Nakul and Sahadev bade their pranama, they bade their obeisance to him, to Krishna, because they were younger in age. Bhima and Arjuna, they also have a special relationship with Krishna. Bhima is said to be Narmasakha of Krishna, because Bhima had a very joking relationship with Krishna. That you will come across as the narration progresses. So that's called Narmasakha, because the Narmasakha in Sanskrit it means, because this is the deep science of rasas, different mellows of devotional service. So Bhimsen always had a very joking exchange in love and affection with Krishna. That's why he's called Narmasakha. And Arjuna is said to be Krishna's Pranasakha, because Krishna said that whoever is Arjuna's friend and whoever is Arjuna's devotee is my friend and my devotee. And whoever is Arjuna's enemy and is offensive to him, he is my enemy. That means he is inimical to me. So to Krishna, Arjuna was like his own life heirs, his own prana. So that's why Arjuna is called Prana Sakha and Bhimsen is called Dharma Sakha. There are different categories of different kinds of sakhas, the deep science of rasas. So Nakul and Sahadev, they were younger to Krishna in age, so they paid him obeisances by touching his feet. And also Krishna was worshipped by offering Arghya and Padya. That means Krishna was offered Arghya and Padya, and that's how he was worshipped. And they were so surprised, they were taken aback. The Pandavas were taken aback to see him at such an odd hour, because it was middle of the night and they were not expecting him. It's not that they were unhappy and angry. Why? They were very happy. It's just that they were pleasantly surprised. And Draupadi also came there. So she paid her obeisances to Krishna and smilingly spoke. Draupadi, after seeing the faces of her husbands, she understood that they were surprised. So she said, why all of you are so surprised in regard to Keshava's appearance in this odd hour? Don't you remember When Durvasa approached us with his 10,000 disciples, he suddenly visited us in midnight to protect us. Also, in the court of Kauravas, he appeared in the form of clothing. Just imagine when Dushasan tried to disrobe her or strip her. That time Krishna and Draupadi surrendered to Krishna. And that time actually there were many people sitting in the assembly. Great many people, great kings were sitting, great gurus were sitting, great ministers were sitting. But none of could help Draupadi. Not even her own husbands could help her. So Draupadi is recalling that time when I surrendered to Krishna, he himself became the sari, just to save my dignity, save my modesty. That is Krishna's incarnation in the form of a sari. Who knew about that? Krishna himself became sari to protect Draupadi. To shower mercy to his devotees. This is the way how he manifests time and again. And it was he who rescued me in the midst of so many great people. And I was, when Dushasan tried to disrobe me and insult me. And also, Durvasa once sent Durvasa along with his 10,000 disciples to put us into trouble. I remembered Krishna and he came with wind-swift speed, deserting the association of his sweet wife. He came here suddenly and there was only a small vegetable leaf available sticking on my utensil. So he just accepted it and the problem was solved. All the munis were satiated, they were satisfied and they never showed up. Durvasa and his 10,000 disciples, you must know this, you must be knowing this incident, that they went to take bath in the river after telling Yudhishthira that they wanted to take prasad. So, and then Draupadi remembered Krishna. Krishna came, he accepted a small vegetable leaf which was sticking on the utensil. And just by Krishna accepting the small vegetable leaf, Durvasa and all the 10,000 disciples immediately became satisfied. Satisfied, that means their belly was filled like up to here. And they had absolutely no desire to eat anymore. They couldn't eat anything. So they became frightened. They thought that what will we do now? Because if we go back to Yudhishthira, we cannot eat anything. And Draupadi must have prepared so many nice preparations, so many nice items. So there is going to be a huge feast. So if we go there, we cannot eat anything now. And if we eat, we are going to vomit and it will be very embarrassing for us. We are munis. So Durvasa and all these disciples became very frightened. So they just left. They never showed up. They never came back to Yudhishthira to honor prasadam. So that's how Krishna again protected Pandavas and Draupadi. So whenever the virtuous people are in predicament, he invariably comes there and protects them as remembered by them. This point also will be repeated again and again in this version of Mahabharata. In the story of Chandrahas also you will find how Chandrahas, because he was very devoted to the Lord right from the beginning, when he remembered Krishna, immediately he was protected from great danger, life-threatening situation, many times. So Jaimini said further that Krishna was very much satisfied by Draupadi's stuti. Itham stutastaya devya tutosha nishsadcha. Then he sat down in his seat. He was offered a seat to sit down. So he was very satisfied. So when devotees glorify Krishna, Krishna is very satisfied. So Krishna was very pleased with Draupadi. Then he took his seat. He sat down. Then Dharmaraj spoke thus. Yudhishthira said that I have just remembered you because I am in trouble. So what does the devotee think? As I told you earlier, the 6 limbs of Sharanagati, surrender. One of them is Rakshasa iti Vishwasa, that Krishna will protect me. In a time of danger, when I remember Krishna, he will protect me. So when can a devotee feel this protection? A devotee will feel this protection when he is sincerely engaged in Krishna service, always. Even if there is no danger, when a person is always engaged in Krishna service, chanting his names, hearing his katha, serving his devotees. So such a person, when remembers Krishna, Krishna will definitely protect him. So I was just remembering you because I am in trouble. And also, Jaimini reveals this in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. That Pandavas, always under some pretext, with some excuse, they always wanted to call Krishna. They always wanted to have audience of Krishna. They wanted some reason, some excuse. That if we have this reason, if there's excuse, then we will get Krishna's darshan and we can serve him. They always had that, and they always did that successfully. So here also, actually, the main interest of Yudhishthira is to have audience of Krishna and somehow or other serve him in one way or another. So he was always meditating on that, on such kinds of desire. He always had such desires. So he said that I am sure that now that you have come, my project is going to be successful. I have a mind, I have a desire, I have made up my mind to do Ashwamedh Yajna. So please tell me what is beneficial to me. I mean, Vyasa has recommended to do Ashwamedh Yajna. He has recommended to us to do Ashwamedh Yajna, but kindly tell me what is beneficial to me and whether I am competent to do it or not. So Krishna started thinking. Because Krishna is here acting as a human being. Though he is Krishna, he is God himself, but he is also giving a lot of instruction in regard to Yuddha Niti and Rajniti. So how the future kings should behave and how they should consider before undertaking such a Herculean task that Krishna is teaching here by his own example. By giving proper consultation and proper advice to Yudhishthira. So Krishna is saying the situation of the world at present, in such a situation, I don't think you are capable of performing Ashwamedh Yajna. Krishna is also testing. There are many reasons that Krishna is speaking in this way. Because now there are many mighty and splendorous kings that you are not much aware about. And also it seems that by Bhima's advice, who is simply a glutton, that means he is a voracious eater, he is a brickholder. By his advice only, you are undertaking this Herculean task. And because Bhima is a glutton, he doesn't have much wisdom. Actually, he has no wisdom to offer you any proper advice. It is a fact that Sthodara param mando jayate natra sanshayah. That a person with a big stomach is generally dull-witted. You cannot trust such a person's intelligence because he is more interested into eating. So you don't trust his intelligence. And also there is one more thing. Vivarna Rakshasi Bharya Vidyate Yasya Grihe Sada. A horrible Rakshasi is always with him. Because he has married a Rakshasi. You just consider. Yes, he has married his Hidimba, who is a Rakshasi. And that's his wife. So this is sweet exchange, joking exchange between Bhima and Krishna. And because she is Rakshasi, she has spoiled his intelligence. So actually he knows nothing in its proper perspective. He cannot guide you properly. You should consider. Why Krishna said that is because Krishna knew that just before he came here, actually Yudhishthira was not confident about performing this yajna. But when Bhimsen was very enthusiastic and he gave him solace and he gave him confidence, Yudhishthira was ready. So Krishna knew that only by his Bhimsen's mantrana or advice he's trying to do this. Yudhishthira is trying to do this. So he's having some sweet exchange also. And also he's telling the real situation also. Because that time, many other kings powerful kings surfaced on the earth, which were not previously not very much into limelight. So if you keep a dull-witted person like Bhima as your advisor, then your sacrifice can never be successful. So what Krishna is teaching here? So Krishna is teaching here as the Rajniti that a king shouldn't keep a glutton as his mantri. Future kings. Although Bhimsen here is not a glutton. I mean, he's a glutton, but he's not dull-witted. He's intelligent. Bhimsen was an exception. But usually what happens is that one who is a voracious eater, usually, there may be exceptions, but usually a king is not advised to keep a voracious eater as his mantri. This is Raja Dharma. So that's how Krishna is teaching here to the future kings. But it doesn't apply to Bhima, because Bhima, though he was a voracious eater, so in that way there are on two levels Krishna is acting here. On one level he is teaching the Raja Dharma to the future kings, and for devotees he is exchanging sweet rasas with Bhima. The devotees become very delighted by hearing such exchange of between Krishna and Krishna's devotees. The wise people have prescribed that, now the dharma, again he is teaching. The wise people have prescribed that the advice of handicapped, deaf, and those who indulge with persons born of evil womb is never beneficial. So is the case with libidinous persons, that means Kami Purush, very lusty man, then mentally retarded and henpecked. He who lives as a worker in the house of his father-in-law, the advice of such persons is never fruitful. So this is dharma again. This is a niti. So how this applies to Bhima? Because Bhima, now that Krishna will explain later, but one more thing Krishna is saying here, Bhima knows only Jarasan, Hidimba and Baka. These are the people he has killed. At present there are so many Kshatriyas of mighty prowess whom Bhima etc. have not seen on the occasion of Rajasuya. Earlier, Bhima hasn't come across them actually. These new kings are religious-minded, valorous, generous, and the master of the senses. Most of them Bhima even does not know what to speak of fighting with them. He doesn't even know. He doesn't know them even. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna took a vow to kill Jayadratha without consulting me. And because of that, there was a great risk. It was a very risky job. Even now, O great king, depending on the might of Bhima, how will you go across this great sacrifice? Because now there are many other kings who are much more powerful than Jarasan, Hidimba, Baka and Jayadratha. So how is it that you have made up your mind to perform this yajna just by the consultation of this glutton? It looks to me an act of a great risk. Also, when the horse will move from quarter to quarter, how will you protect it everywhere and in all quarters? Because the horse has to be protected. And when the horse will go to the regions of such great kings, who is going to protect the horse? And if this horse is caught by some king and it doesn't come back to you again, then your whole sacrifice is spoiled and you will gain only defame and nothing else. You'll be an object of ridicule by others. Also, Sarvatra Parigantaso Deva Gandharva Manavan. This horse will go where? In the lands of Deva, Gandharva and Manav. Again, geography here. The horse will go where? Deva, Gandharva and Manavan. Manavan here definitely, okay, Bharatvarsha. There are many human beings here. I mean the visible world and the other remaining invisible 8 khandas of Bharatvarsha. Apart from that, there is Bhaumasvarga, where there are Devas and Gandharvas. So here, Krishna is talking about not the Bilasvarga, not the Divyasvarga. He is talking about the Bhaumasvarga, these earthly planets. Not planet. You actually they are not described as planet. They are described as dvipas actually in scriptures. Although roughly they can be translated as planets, but actually they are dvipas. So this horse will move from one land to another in the territories of gods, Gandharvas, and human beings. And brave warriors will be required to conquer those who catch the hold of the horse. They have to be released. The horse has to be released from their pangs, from their hold. First of all, the person initiated for the Ashwamedh Yajna must observe Asipatra Vrat, as I told you earlier. In a time of yore, earlier, Rama also deputed Bharat, who was very powerful, his brother, Bharat, his younger brother, in the protection of the horse. But in Shuktimati town, and when the horse was traveling to different lands, the horse reached Shuktimati, Puri. That time the great warrior Suratha took the hold of that horse and he tied the horse along with Bharat himself. You can imagine how powerful this Surat was. That even he captured even Bharat. Bharat was a very powerful warrior. Then what happened? Rama himself had to go there to fight with Surat, defeat him with his valor and release his brother and the horse. So he is giving an example. So if my friend Arjuna goes behind the horse to protect it, now Arjuna is going to go there along with the horse. And he will have to fight with these kings. And if Arjuna and the horse in a similar fashion, Bharat was brother of Ramachandra, he was caught. So there is every chance that Arjuna also can be caught by some mighty king, by some mighty warrior along with the horse. And in such a situation, somebody attacks you, what will happen? They are there, they are held there, and there is nobody here to protect you. So in such a case, who will protect you? And who will go to get Arjuna released? So I am developing these kinds of doubts. So here we have to understand a little inner meaning that Krishna definitely has had confidence in Bhima. That in the upcoming chapter we are going to discuss, because Krishna has said things like this because he is having an exchange with Bhima, a sweet devotional exchange. I mean Bhima's devotion to Krishna, and Krishna is teaching Rajadharma also. So how Bhima is going to reply? Because when Bhima said something earlier by Bhima's advice, now Yudhishthira is confident, but Krishna is nullifying that. Krishna is showing his doubt in this regard. So Bhima must be having something to say to Krishna about this. In return, he must have something to say in return. So definitely Bhima is going to glorify Krishna, and he will give appropriate replies to whatever Krishna said. Hare Krishna.